Hey everyone, there's nothing worse than trying to buy a motorcycle with a private sale in a low trust society. Hopefully you understand what I mean by a low trust society. And that's exactly where we are in the UK. Naturally, societies are low trust until you build trust up within it through leadership and all that good stuff. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about when we were used to live in small colonies, and then you'd talk to another colony, and then you'd build up some trust, and that would get higher and higher, and then you have a high trust society where transactions can occur with confidence. We're currently in a society in the UK, probably the Western world, where trust is very low. I've lived in a couple of countries, and we'll talk about that as I ride on, but I want to show you this bike that's been purchased, and if you're a regular viewer, you'll already have seen this bike, but over the last 2 months I've purchased 2 bikes. Let me get the other camera. Here we go. I've bought this Triumph Tiger that is nearly 10 years old. Another couple of months and it'll be 10 years old. And within the last couple of months I also bought a 24-year-old GSX 1400 Suzuki, which had been in a garage for 23 years. Go back and look at previous videos on that. And so in the last 2 months I've bought 2 second-hand bikes. This one coming up 10 years old, and a 24-year-old Suzuki. And based on a low trust society that we're currently in, I get a lot of messages from lots and lots of comments and emails on that I'm very oops, hang on, what's happened here? There we go. Let me just put that back on. I was working on the brakes the other night, and obviously that slipped off. Let's put that there. And they're saying that you're very brave in going out to the private sector, where people are selling their stuff on eBay or Marketplace or in a newspaper, a local newspaper. You're very brave in going out and sourcing the bikes yourself, and I think I can understand that, but I think we've been indoctrinated over the last sort of 10-20 years to be very untrusting, and I understand that. I do understand it, and I think if you've got a bit of knowledge on what you're looking for, then it all helps. That's the challenge here. And, you know, this is November 2025, and buying second-hand bikes is not such a bad thing at this time of year. But I know often is the case that we'll buy second-hand bikes from dealers, and they will give you something like a 3-month warranty, and that's a really good thing. Right, let's get on the bike and go for a ride. That is a really good thing. But sometimes you can get value by going out to the private sector as well. Let's make sure I'm all zipped up. And that's what we're talking about today. You can do this. All you need to do is be prepared and try to build up some kind of common relationship with whoever is the person that you're buying the motorcycle from. Okie dokie. Excuse me. Wow. There's the Star Inn near Wreckashall. Here we are. So this particular bike cost under £5,000, so you can get a lot of bike for under £5,000. Why did I buy this? Let's go for a ride. Yeah, as I say, I get a lot of comments saying that you're very brave buying it from a private person. And I don't think that's fair, really. I think if you know what you're looking for, and I'm no mechanic, let's be clear on that, I am no mechanic, I think you'll be okay. But when I was looking at this bike, visor down, when I was looking at this bike, before we got together, he emailed me all the documentation that was with the bike, which is all the history and the service book and all that good stuff, all the receipts. And I did the same to the guy that bought my Triumph T120. Of course, that was only a year and a half old, but this one is 10 years old, so I would expect some more say hello, there we go. I would expect some more documentation over that 10 years. And that's what he supplied me. And after going through that documentation semi-meticulously, we then agreed to meet up. And then, let me put the visor up. And then I had a good look around this bike. Not as meticulous as I normally would, but there are good reasons for that, just look in the history. And I decided to take this bike, and it's absolutely perfect. I knew there were a couple of things that needed doing on it, but that's okay. The tyres, these are good for another 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, so I appreciate that. So that will take me up to, let's say, spring of 2026 as I ride through the winter, and then I'll put some new tyres on it, and that's fine. That'll be £300 for a set of new tyres fitted. And all you've got to do is have a little confidence in what you're looking at, yeah? But you're designed, I think society at the moment in the Western world is quite low trust. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. As they said in The Thing, 1982, the film, trust is a hard thing to come by. And you know, I think it's absolutely right. But you've got to build up the relationship with the person that's selling the bike or the car, and try to understand where they're coming from and why they're selling the vehicle at this moment in time. Now, people, we're in November 2025. The next sort of 5 months is a great time to buy motorcycles. Motorcycles in the UK are, generally speaking, toys. I appreciate that those with 125cc's, I am generalising here, maybe those that you go work for Deliveroo and Uber Eats and all that, but you know, for the larger bikes, they're generally toys, maybe the odd touring bike or whatever. And over this coming winter period, I'm going to be going through eBay and not YouTube, eBay and Facebook Marketplace. And what we're going to do is take a look at what's on the market, and I'm going to release the video to you, and I'll say this is rubbish, this is a scam, and then on the other side I'll say this is an example of what's a good bike. Then there are two other dimensions. There are certain motorcycles where people buy them and generally don't look after them. We'll talk about that in the future. And there are certain motorcycles, and we're talking on the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the people just don't look after them. And then we're looking at the other side of the scale, where you get a particular motorbike, like this Triumph Tiger, where 80% of the people that buy them tend to look after them fairly meticulously. Yes? Because it's their pride and joy. Look at this countryside. Beautiful. It looks like it's going to start raining soon enough. But it's their pride and joy. So they do look after it. They make sure it gets serviced. They make sure everything's done. Having had a look through the documentation of this bike, I could see that the last maintenance on the brakes was back in early 2023. So that's nearly 3 years ago. So what I did was I serviced the front two calipers and the rear caliper, make sure they were clean, make sure everything was moving, give them a good grease up where needed. And then, only a couple of nights ago, I then bled the brake fluid for both front and rear, and the brakes are now so much better. So much better. And that's okay, let's give this one away. So, I knew this when I bought it. I thought, oh yeah, the brakes are going to need a bit of a service. But I knew I could do that with my limited toolkit. And I know that the tyres are going to be need replacing in early 2026. And that's okay. I can afford to fund that. What I can't afford to do is buy a £4,500 bike and then get it home and find it's riddled with problems. So there's a bit of education here. So when you're thinking about buying a motorbike or a car, educate yourself on the model that you're looking at, so you know where to go and look for things that are a bit not particularly right. Yeah? Hopefully, by buying this a couple of weeks ago, I will find that this Triumph Tiger is absolutely fine and there are no problems on it at all. That would be super, super cool. So, over the next few weeks, into winter, into the early part of the year, it's a great time to buy a bike. It's not the best time to sell a bike, but it is a great time to buy a bike. As Christmas comes in, and presents for the kids are needed, and the motorbike is seen as a toy in the garage, people sell their pride and joy, probably reluctantly in some cases, and you can take advantage of that. You are taking advantage of the scenario. Let's say it as it is. And that period stretches from where we are now in November right through to February and March, when you get over Christmas and the parents have spent too much on the Visa card for the Christmas presents for the kids. They need to pay back the Visa card, or they're trying to book a holiday for 2026. Yeah, so the bike goes up for sale. It's just a thought. So whilst we're in a low trust society, yeah, take that into account. When I lived in Estonia, that was sort of a medium trust society. People that were selling cars and motorbikes really did meticulously keep the service documentation, so to retain the price of the vehicles, the value of the vehicles. They really did. Whereas we're a bit lapsadaisical in the UK sometimes. When I lived in Qatar, that is a high value trust society. So buying a vehicle over there was very, very easy. You could trust the person. and on the understanding that if the vehicle was out of warranty in Qatar, it was worthless. If it came with no warranty, be it a private sale, generally speaking, it was worthless. So you can take advantage of that. So, you know, if the car was, let's say, I don't know, 4 years old and just out of warranty, and it had got all the service history, it was worthless, so it was worth buying, on the understanding that when you come to sell it, it's going to be worthless again. Yeah? There's no use in buying something for, let's say, £5,000 and expecting to be able to sell it for 8. That wouldn't work in Qatar. Just saying. You know, you buy it for 5, keep it for a year, and then sell it for £4,000. So this sets the scene for the winter time of 2025-2026. We're going to be looking at Facebook Marketplace, we're going to be looking at eBay, looking at some opportunities for older bikes. And new bikes as well. Do you know what? I don't know if you've got this far, but I've been thinking about the Suzuki Katana, the new ones. They are such great value for money, second hand. Incredibly low mileage, and you can get them for £5,000, £5,500. Incredibly low mileage. Right, I'm going home. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Do subscribe if you're not subscribed, it does matter. Thank you to all those that are subscribed. If this meant something to you, do give it a tick and put all your comments below. Ride safely, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.